The U.S. Coast Guard said
the U.S. Coast Guard says
it was not safe diving in the Titan, and it was never supposed to be safe.
We all told him it's not the right material.
Warnings over the safety of the Titan sub were dismissed by the company's CEO.
This man, Stockton Rush, was a complete, unequivocal narcissist, and in the end,
I've broken some rules to make this. I think I've broken them with logic and good engineering.
Stockton was designing a mousetrap for billionaires.
OceanGate CEO ignored early warning signs that the material used to build the submersible wasn't safe.
Ignoring warnings, why did he put his own life at risk along with everybody else?
I mean, this was the biggest clown show in history.
Gazing through the lone porthole, the crew was met with infinite darkness. But that didn't dampen the excitement of the 5 people on board. As the sub plunged further into the freezing abyss towards the wreckage of the Titanic, the pressure on the hull mounted. Suddenly, a low groan echoed through the vessel. Then the sound of cracking filled the air. Before anyone could react, the sub imploded.
the Titan imploded while on an underwater excursion to the wreckage of the Titanic. All 5 people on board.
It was over in an instant. At a depth of around 3,300 meters, the external pressure on the Titan would have been an astounding 4,900 pounds per square inch. Disaster would have likely started with the collapse of a miniature cavity inside the tightly woven layers of carbon fiber making up the hull of the submarine.
Experts from within the unified command, the debris is consistent with the catastrophic loss of the pressure chamber.
This small void, and many more like it, would have been only big enough to be spotted under a microscope. It was a manufacturing defect that OceanGate was likely aware of, and yet they continued to use their non-independently inspected submersible to take people down to crushing depths. Immediate and catastrophic structural collapse followed. Microscopic cracks radiated from the initial point of collapse all around the carbon fiber hull.
Taylor specifically advised against the use of carbon fiber, as it's still experimental and has not been tested over time in extreme depths of the ocean.
Propagating faster than the speed of sound, the crew inside would still have no clue what was happening. Nearly 5,000 pounds per square inch of water pressure pushed against these cracks, shattering the hull. Nanoseconds later, the titanium cap at the front of the submersible was popped off like a wine cork. The walls collapsed inward and then down toward the rear of the submersible, where the aft titanium cap remained attached and maintained structural integrity. The incredible pressure of the ocean water compressed the atmosphere of the submarine, traveling along the hull in fractions of a nanosecond. Inside, the compressing atmosphere also worked on the bodies of the crew, forcing them down away from the point of collapse toward the rear titanium cap. 5 adult humans were pushed against each other, and the titanium cap with so much force that their bodies began to burst open.
Was a catastrophic implosion of the vessel, which would have generated a significant broadband sound down there that the sonar buoys would have picked up.
The water pushed the hull of the submarine in on itself from front to back, collapsing it like an empty soda can being stomped flat. The shattered remnants of the carbon fiber hull forced the crew's bodies up against the aft titanium cap, with the water quickly following. The crew's remains were liquefied to a thick, whitish paste that lined the rear of the Titan. Nothing solid remained, not even teeth. It's all over in a fraction of a second. But slowing time down lets us appreciate the horrible scale of the Titan disaster. And the Coast Guard now knows who's to blame. The Titan submersible and OceanGate, the venture responsible for ferrying tourists to the wreck of the Titanic.
OceanGate Titan submersible, lost while on a mission to explore the wreck of the Titanic,
was largely the brainchild of libertarian billionaire Stockton Rush.
Hi, my name is Stockton Rush. I'm the CEO and founder of OceanGate. Let's take a look at Titan.
A man with an ambitious vision, Rush saw himself as a pioneer in deep-sea exploration, determined to push the boundaries of technology and commercial underwater travel. His goal was to make the depths of the ocean as accessible as the skies had become with commercial aviation or space tourism.
I wanted to be an astronaut. That's why I got an engineering degree. I watched Star Trek, Star Wars, all the video, and I wanted to see those alien life forms. And eventually I realized, one, I wasn't going to go to space.
However, where others saw safety regulations as necessary precautions, Rush saw them as bureaucratic roadblocks, an unnecessary constraint on innovation. Rush founded OceanGate in 2009, convinced that underwater tourism was an untapped market with enormous potential. He believed that a new generation of submersibles, cheaper, lighter, and more innovative, could bring the wonders of the deep ocean to the super rich and eventually to the broader public. Forward feet to see the Titanic wreck was irresistible.
The Titan was on a tourism expedition to view the wreckage of the Titanic in June of 2023.
And OceanGate promised an exclusive, once-in-a-lifetime adventure for those willing to pay the $250,000 ticket price. But from the very beginning, there was one huge problem standing in the way of Rush's vision: government regulation. To him, regulatory oversight was not about ensuring safety, but about stifling innovation. In particular, he was critical of the Passenger Vessel Safety Act of 1993, a law enacted to impose stricter safety regulations on submersibles carrying passengers. This law prevented submersibles from going beyond 150 feet without extensive certifications, inspections, and compliance with engineering standards. It ensured that any vessel operating at extreme depths met rigorous testing requirements to minimize the risk of catastrophic failure. Rush rejected these constraints.
Email messages showing that warnings over the safety of OceanGate's Titan sub were repeatedly dismissed by the CEO of the company.
He saw them as an obstacle, not a safeguard. In multiple interviews, he voiced his frustration with regulations, arguing that they needlessly prioritized passenger safety over commercial innovation. To him, government oversight was slowing down progress, a relic of an outdated, overly cautious approach to engineering. Instead of conforming to industry standards, Rush set out to build his own experimental submersible, free from external oversight. Rush's rejection of regulations directly influenced the way the Titan was designed and built. Unlike traditional deep-sea submersibles, which were made with steel or titanium pressure vessels, the Titan consisted of a hybrid construction. It had two titanium end caps with a 3.25-inch thick wall at the front and back, but the main hull was made from carbon fiber, an unprecedented choice in deep-sea engineering. To many experts in the field, this was a disaster waiting to happen.
Taylor specifically advised against the use of carbon fiber, as it's still experimental and has not been tested over time in extreme depths of the ocean.
It being hollow on the inside, or just, one atmosphere on the inside, and having the tremendous pressure of the ocean, trying to push in on it. It just doesn't, it's not the right material.
The viewport, the only window on the sub through which passengers could view the Titanic, was another major concern. The acrylic window was 7 inches thick, and during deep dives, it was recorded as protruding back into the cabin by nearly an inch due to the extreme pressure.
Titan raised a red flag before the Titan imploded about the integrity of the structure, particularly the windows. They failed testing at shallower depths than the Titanic dive. He asked Kemper's engineering firm to test that window design.
But the most alarming issue was its depth rating. The viewport was only certified for depths of 650 meters, 2,100 feet, a fraction of the 3,800 meter, 12,500 foot depth where the Titanic lay. That meant the window was being pushed far beyond its safety limits every time the Titan attempted to reach the Titanic wreck. Despite these serious red flags, Rush continued moving forward with his project. Unlike most companies in deep-sea exploration, OceanGate did not hire veteran submariners or engineers with decades of experience in the field. Instead, Rush actively avoided hiring experienced professionals who might challenge his unconventional approach. Rush wanted a young, innovative team, people who wouldn't be weighed down by old-fashioned safety concerns. He was determined to disrupt the industry, and to do that, he surrounded himself with like-minded thinkers who shared his disregard for traditional safety protocols. This approach led to a culture at OceanGate where concerns about structural integrity were dismissed as pessimism or resistance to innovation. Throughout the years leading up to the Titan's final mission, multiple experts warned Rush that his submersible was not safe. One of the loudest voices was Liz Taylor, the president of Dewar Marine, a well-respected figure in the submersible industry. She specifically cautioned him that carbon fiber was unsuitable for deep-sea submersibles. Carbon fiber, while incredibly strong in certain applications, is not designed to withstand the repetitive compression and decompression cycles experienced in deep-sea dives. Unlike titanium, which has predictable properties under pressure, carbon fiber can develop microscopic fractures over time, eventually leading to catastrophic failure. Rush was fully aware of these risks but dismissed them, even when 38 deep-sea exploration experts drafted a letter in 2019 urging him to seek third-party certification and conduct more rigorous safety tests. He refused. OceanGate's official response to the letter was shocking. Instead of acknowledging concerns and committing to better safety practices, the company downplayed the risk of mechanical failure altogether. The vast majority of marine and aviation accidents are a result of operator error, not mechanical failure. This statement revealed a fundamental misunderstanding of the dangers of deep-sea exploration. Unlike pilot error in aviation, where mechanical redundancy often allows for mid-flight corrections, a structural failure in a submersible at extreme depths is instant and irreversible. There is no room for human error to be a primary factor because by the time an error is detected, it is already too late. Rush's hubris was his downfall. Instead of acknowledging that the ocean is an unforgiving environment where even small engineering flaws can lead to disaster, he viewed safety measures as red tape standing in the way of his grand vision. He saw himself as a pioneer, a maverick in the same league as Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, pushing technological limits where no one else dared to go. But space travel and deep-sea exploration are not the same. The pressure at 12,500 feet underwater is over 5,500 pounds per square inch, enough to crush steel containers instantly. Unlike space travel, where failures might give astronauts a chance to respond, a submarine failure at that depth is always fatal. Had Rush listened to industry professionals, taken the warning seriously, and conducted proper safety tests, the Titan might have been a groundbreaking success story instead of one of the most infamous disasters in deep-sea history. Instead, he ignored the warnings. He dismissed experienced engineers. He cut corners in safety testing. And ultimately, he led 5 people to their deaths. In the wake of the Titan's catastrophic implosion, the tragedy serves as a harsh reminder of the importance of strict regulations and third-party safety assessments in high-risk industries. Stockton Rush's unwillingness to follow established safety protocols, his belief that he knew better than experts, and his insistence on prioritizing cost and innovation over human lives turned what could have been an incredible achievement into a horrifying cautionary tale. Regulations exist for a reason. They are not just bureaucratic obstacles, they are the difference between death in industries where the margin for error is zero. The Titan's implosion was not an unforeseen accident, it was a predictable failure, one that had been warned about years in advance. But Stockton Rush ignored those warnings, and 5 lives were lost because of it. Most baffling of all, the Titan was not equipped with an emergency locator beacon, which would have made it easy to find should something go wrong. A locator beacon is a standard piece of equipment on nearly all deep-sea submersibles, ensuring that if communication fails or an emergency occurs, search and rescue efforts can quickly determine the sub's position. The absence of this critical safety feature meant that if the Titan encountered any issues, there would be no immediate way to track its last known location, leaving rescue teams essentially blind. This decision was just one of many examples of OceanGate's disregard for fundamental safety measures in pursuit of cost-cutting and so-called innovation. This is why it took so long to actually locate the wreckage. The Titan's disappearance was not an immediate realization, but a slow and frustrating mystery that unfolded over hours. During an incident in 2022, the surface vessel lost track of the Titan for over 5 hours, during which the crew of the ship allegedly shut off the internet to prevent anyone from tweeting about it. This alarming response suggested that OceanGate prioritized its reputation and public image over operational transparency and passenger safety. The very fact that they attempted to suppress information rather than address concerns in real time is a chilling indication of the company's mindset. Even more concerning was the fact that the submersible wasn't even guaranteed to find the Titanic. Deep-sea navigation is notoriously difficult, even with the most advanced tracking and sonar systems. Simpsons showrunner Mike Rice, who had previously been on board the Titan, revealed that during one dive, it took 3 hours to locate the Titanic wreck, despite landing within 500 yards of it. This further highlighted the inadequacy of the vessel's navigation and tracking systems, raising serious concerns about whether OceanGate had properly invested in the necessary technology to make their high-risk excursions even remotely reliable. OceanGate claimed the Titan was built in collaboration with experts from NASA, Boeing, and the University of Washington. These affiliations were meant to inspire confidence in the Titan's design and construction. However, as scrutiny grew following the sub's implosion, all three of those entities publicly clarified that they had no direct involvement in the design of the Titan. Boeing, one of the most reputable aerospace engineering firms in the world, denied any involvement. Leaked documents would later verify that any cooperation between Boeing and OceanGate had been terminated due to Stockton Rush ignoring recommendations and testing requirements from Boeing engineers. This revelation further exposed Rush's pattern of disregarding expert advice, forging ahead with his own untested ideas rather than adhering to established engineering practices. On June 18th at 9:14 a.m., the Titan disengaged from its support platform and began its long dive to the wreck of the Titanic. The excitement among those on board was palpable. They were embarking on a journey that few in human history had experienced. However, what was meant to be a once-in-a-lifetime adventure soon turned into a chilling disaster. Unlike other deep-sea vehicles, the Titan did not have hardline communications with its tender vessel, the Polar Prince. Instead, it relied on a text messaging application, a fact that itself was unusual given the extreme depth the sub was expected to reach. Text messaging is an unreliable form of communication in high-risk environments, and this method only increased the chances of losing touch with the vessel in the event of an emergency. At 10:47, the first sign of trouble arose. A message from the Titan read, "Dropped 2 WTs." This was likely a reference to the weights the Titan used to help it sink to the bottom of the sea. Weight dropping is a common procedure for submersibles used to control descent and ascent. However, at a depth of almost 3,350 meters, it was unclear whether this was part of the planned dive or an emergency attempt to regain buoyancy. If the Titan had begun releasing weights too early, it could have indicated that the crew was experiencing an issue or that the hull was showing signs of stress. 6 seconds after receiving this message, the Polar Prince stopped receiving automatic pings it would normally get every 5 to 10 seconds. This was the moment when disaster likely struck. It's believed that the Titan experienced a catastrophic implosion at this time. The crew inside would not have had time to react or even perceive their own deaths. The implosion would have happened in fractions of a second, far faster than human perception. It's likely that they probably heard the same sounds of fatigue and stress on the hull of the submersible as had been heard on previous dives. These eerie noises, which had been dismissed before, were harbingers of what was to come. This time, though, the fatally flawed carbon fiber hull would not tolerate the pressures and caved in on itself with unimaginable force. The story of the Titan mirrors that of the Titanic, one of extreme hubris and foolishness. Just as the Titanic was deemed unsinkable, the Titan was presented as a marvel of modern engineering, a game-changing innovation in deep-sea exploration. But in both cases, overconfidence and a failure to respect nature's raw power led to tragedy. Stockton Rush, much like those who ignored warnings about the Titanic's doomed maiden voyage, believed that he was above the petty concerns of government regulation and even the advice of experts. His personal philosophy, which rejected safety precautions as unnecessary hindrances, directly contributed to the deaths of 5 people. It is a grim reminder that regulations exist not to stifle ambition, but to protect lives. This catastrophic event serves as a painful lesson in the dangers of disregarding expert advice and safety regulations in the pursuit of innovation. While progress and discovery often require risk-taking, the reckless abandonment of safety protocols led to a completely preventable tragedy. OceanGate's determination to bypass critical inspections and the repeated warnings from industry professionals highlights a culture of arrogance that ultimately cost 5 lives. This was not an unavoidable accident. It was the culmination of years of neglecting fundamental safety principles in favor of unchecked ambition. Had the Titan been subjected to rigorous third-party safety inspections and regulatory compliance, the flaws in its design might have been detected before disaster struck. Engineering, particularly in high-risk environments like deep-sea exploration, is an exact science where small miscalculations or ignored warnings can result in disaster. Rush's belief that regulation stifled innovation proved fatal, as the collapse of the Titan underscores the very purpose of these safety measures. The passengers, who placed their trust in OceanGate's assurances, were led into a vessel that was doomed from the start. In the aftermath, questions arise about accountability. The investigation into the Titan's implosion sheds light on how corporate ambition, when unchecked, can lead to dire consequences. Who should be held responsible for this tragedy? Was it solely Rush's fault, or was there a broader failure in oversight? Should private companies be allowed to operate in extreme environments without rigorous external safety checks? These are the difficult questions that must now be answered. As the world reflects on this tragedy, it stands as a stark reminder of the fine line between innovation and irresponsibility. The lessons from this disaster should serve as a wake-up call for those willing to ignore safety measures in pursuit of ambition. Human curiosity pushes us to explore, to break boundaries, and to innovate, but it must never come at the expense of fundamental safety. Progress should not mean recklessly gambling with lives. The Titan's fate was not an accident of nature, but a direct consequence of ignoring known risks. Engineering is a discipline built on precision, testing, and adherence to safety protocols. When those safeguards are ignored in the name of speed or profit, tragedy becomes inevitable. The Titan's implosion was not a rare, unpredictable event. It was a failure foreseen by experts who were dismissed, ignored, or silenced. When warnings go unheeded, disasters follow. This disaster highlights an undeniable truth. The ocean is unforgiving, and in the deep, where pressures are relentless, there is no room for arrogance. No shortcuts can cheat the laws of physics, and no ambition, no matter how grand, can overcome the raw force of nature. The lessons of the Titan should not be forgotten. They serve as a stark warning that in environments where human life is fragile, there is no room for negligence and there is no margin for error. If this story left you thinking about the balance between ambition and responsibility, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the world's most shocking events. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Was this disaster preventable, or was it the cost of pushing boundaries? Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.